All right, you guys, so today we're going to be talking about what happens energetically when a woman sets a boundary, a firm and healthy boundary coming from a place of self-love, what that does to a relationship, to a connection, to a dynamics between the masculine and the feminine, because once a feminine sets a boundary as a gatekeeper of this world, energetically as a standard setter of this world, there's going to be two possible responses from a masculine energy that will actually tell you whether that man is or isn't aligned with you and with your highest destiny. And we're going to talk in a moment a little bit about what actually boundaries are, because there's still a bit of a misconception how we set boundaries. I've actually done a video about this in depth, but I want to bring this to your attention today in context of this video. But I want to start from saying that many women now are still operating from a place of collective wound, right? So something that has been sort of imposed into us, taught by our mothers, by the collective, by the society, because we live in a distorted masculine patriarchal system. Okay, and what I mean by that collective wound is a wound that pushes women to think that a man is a project, that a man is something that you have to save, that a man is someone that you have to raise, that a man is someone that you have to teach how to be mature and teach how to be in a relationship. And that is not the case. That is a misconception of us being gatekeepers and what it actually means. So the reason that this collective wound was created is because we were taught to sort of walk on eggshells around male ego, because men have not been doing the work for generations. Men have been in their distorted energy for generations. And again, this is not to criticize or judge. Men are doing the work now. We're in age of masculine awakening, and this is what this channel is partially about: alignment and divine masculine, divine feminine alignment. But it is the truth that we've been taught as women to walk on eggshells around male ego, and we've been hearing just excuses like, you cannot, diminish a man, you cannot challenge a man because his ego is fragile, you cannot publicly say something that will disagree with your man, you cannot do this and that, right? And although it matters how we manage conflict and how we challenge our men, it is actually the work of a feminine to challenge the masculine energy and to create pressure on the masculine energy. So we have to start collectively healing and integrating that wound that made us believe that it is our job to keep our men emotionally stable, not to poke the bear. And it is quite the contrary. True divine feminine, true feminine energy, it is our job to poke the bear, so the bear realizes what is still poking him, what is still not in line with his self-control, with his values, with his masculinity, to then course correct. Okay, links as well to the collective healer wound within women, us being natural empaths, us naturally being able to connect to the heart space, to connect to empathy, to compassion, and all these concepts deeply misunderstood these days. But it is our natural quality that has went on a level of distortion. So in order to actually stand in your feminine strength, yes, you have to be empath, yes, you have to be compassionate, but you also have to have strong boundaries, strong self-love, and to understand that we are not here to fix anyone. We can lead the way, we can raise the bar, we can poke the bear so the bear knows what needs to be fixed, but it is not our job, it is not our project to fix a man. So as we are exiting this collective wound of thinking that you're going to find yourself a man and you should be grateful that any man wants you, and then it doesn't matter that he's not perfect because you're going to just fix him, right? You're going to tell him how to act, you're going to tell him how to clean the house, you're going to tell him how to dress himself. It's all rubbish. And one more thing that it's creating, because it's a deep distortion within the feminine energy, but it turns our dynamic into woman being a mother, into woman putting herself in a place of superiority where you need to fix someone, raise someone, when is not the case. A woman is a gatekeeper, is a standard setter. So you set the standard, but then you don't over explain yourself on how the standard is supposed to be met and what it's doing to the masculine energy subconsciously, and why men are so afraid of commitment these days. Because the more we want to fix from our distortion, the more we want to treat them as a projects that we're going to help them, we're going to rescue them, we're going to help them to heal the wounds, the mother wound, the father wound, we're going to help them to love themselves more and to be better men. How they actually energetically understand that is that we're taking away their freedom. And freedom is one of the most important thing for the masculine energy, right? Because subconsciously they know that feminine energy actually has direct access to the divine, direct access through the portal of the heart and through the portal of the womb to what's beyond. Very strong intuition. Every woman, natural, every feminine energy has natural psychic abilities, right? So when that goes towards distortion and when it becomes controlling, they lose the freedom, they lose the leadership qualities, they lose the sensation that my woman is supposed to trust me, bring in the values, bring in the bar, raise the bar, bring in information from the beyond, but don't tell me what to do with this information, right? So it turns into controlling, it turns into mothering your man, and that actually strips him from the final parts of masculinity that he ever had. He has to be in control, he has to be in freedom, he has to be in sovereignty, he has to be in his power, he has to feel like he's taking his own choice, which is the case. He has to take his own choice and not being forced into being a better man, because ultimately we all have a freedom of choice. If you don't want to be a better man, don't be a better man, but I'm not going to be accessible for a man that is not a better man. All right, so let's now talk about boundaries. How do we set proper boundaries? Because that's important in this context as well. And I really want you to understand, because I feel like there's still a bit of a misconception. Boundaries, first of all, are a natural byproduct of self-love. When you truly love yourself as a woman, in your feminine energy, when you love yourself, when you respect yourself, when you have unconditional self-worth and self-value, boundaries are set naturally and effortlessly. No effort required. And it's not just with men as in your partner or romantic men, it's with family, it's with friends, it's with strangers on the street, it's with sibling, cousins, uncles, everybody. You just naturally, because boundaries it's that natural shield of protection that sort of guards who we really are as a person. When that's flaky, when we don't really know who we are, when we don't really appreciate who we are, when we don't really love who we are, when we don't think that we deserve to have our own space and live the life the way we want to, we're not going to have those boundaries. So once you address that, they're going to be set naturally. So that's something that you need to remember when you still struggle with boundaries. But now, how do we actually set boundaries? And here's where the misconception comes in. Boundaries are not set through words. Boundaries are set through action. Boundaries are not set through nagging, through asking, through course correcting, through over explaining. They are set through silence. And that's again where we go back to the distortion of over controlling, of men being a project. So many women, when a man does something that you do not like, okay, he's being flaky, he's being in and out, maybe he came in and then he disappeared months, he ghosted you, then he returned, right? Or maybe he'd said something that is quite disrespectful in a sense of he's taking you out on a date and suddenly he starts talking about, let's see where things go, I don't want to commit. Like, why are you wasting my time, sir? Okay, so setting a boundary is responding as per your own values. So you connected to me, then you disappeared, and now you're nonchalantly returning. I'm not even going to entertain this. I'm not even going to respond. As long as I have an actual evidence in the real life that you have changed as a man, and that is your job to provide this evidence to me, not my job, I'm going to say squat, zip it. I'm not even going to react. Similarly, you took me out and you disrespected me through your behavior, through your words, through your energy, whatever is it that you did. I'm not going to then explain you why you disrespected me. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste my energy to send you gazillions of long messages or educate you. You have to act this. You have to act that way. That's not my problem. I'm just not going to respond. I'm just going to say no to the next offer for a date or for a meetup. I'm not just going to respond to your messages because I am not your teacher. I am not your educator in that direct sense. Right? So this is setting a boundary. Setting a boundary is not sitting with a man or sending him gazillions of messages how he needs to treat you. You show him how he needs to treat you. The moment he doesn't treat you the way you want to be treated, you disappear. You disappear. And remember, because people tend to go into like very polarity kind of a directions, like it's black or white. I'm not saying that in a mature relationship, there's no space for explanation and for conversation, okay? Because once you are in a mature relationship, so once that man is committing to you, he's devoting himself to you, he's treating you with respect, then let's say you're going to have a little disagreement, you're going to poke the bear, right? You're going to trigger each other. By all means, if his energy is open, if his heart is open, if he can be vulnerable, if he can have a mature conversation, this is the time when we sit down on the floor, open our hearts, have a heart-to-heart, soul-to-soul conversation. This is how I feel because of specific wounds, specific shadows, specific values, specific things that are happening in my mind, so he can feel you, he can understand you, and then he can respond. But when it's not this mature sort of a two-way street kind of a flow, but you're seeing that boundaries need to be set and he's not responding to these boundaries, not nagging, not over-explaining, not texting, not, bringing him a lecture of how a man should treat a woman. If your mama didn't teach you that, if life didn't teach you that, I'm not going to teach you that. Because again, then you go back to the frequency of mothering, of making him a project, of controlling him. That's not what we do. You, sir, have a right to be whoever you want. You want to be Casanova, be Casanova. You want to ghost me, ghost me. You have a right to be whoever you want. It's just that the moment I will see whoever you are, I will then evaluate if that is something that I want in my energy. Okay? So now, back to the initial question. Two things that can happen energetically when you set a proper boundary with a man. So you set the boundary, as I've explained, that boundaries should be set, which means I know who I am, I love myself, I know what I want from life, okay? If I will ever allow a man in my vicinity, it's because I know who that man needs to be. I'm not going to change him. I'm not going to waste years of my life for a project, okay? With a promise of maybe achieving something here. You're either do it yourself and you're ready, or I am not interested. The moment you set that boundaries, two things can happen. One thing is that, because again, to give you background, feminine energy creates pressure over masculine energy to create his life force energy. And I've done videos about this to explain this in detail. So if you want to, understand this energetically a little more, but this is how the divine flow between masculine and feminine works. Similarly, internally, your inner masculine, your feminine. Feminine energy creates pressure for the masculine to then rise his life force energy, and then feminine energy needs to set a boundary to teach the masculine how to raise this energy and how to use this energy properly as per divine law, filtering it through the heart. So not just wasting it and not just shallow, low vibrational things, but to actually, through setting standards and a bar, we teach them to raise those standards for themselves as well. So when you create that pressure and you do that through setting a boundary with a man, first thing that can happen is that he will consciously or subconsciously feel that this is not like something that he wants to do right now, right? So let's say you have connected to a man, you started speaking to a man, and he's not yet on the level of maturity that you are. He cannot meet you where you are. So let's say he disappeared. After a couple of weeks or months of connecting, he disappeared, and then he returned after 2 weeks, and You already know this is not something that I want to entertain. So you're going to set that boundary. You're going to say clearly, okay? You're going to show, you're not going to respond. You're going to react properly with a boundary. So if he subconsciously feels that he is not ready to step up, he is not ready to grow, he's not ready to change, he will just retreat. But this is a sign for a feminine energy that this is not a man for you. This is not a man with whom you could reach alignment. This is not a partner that can meet you where you are, because feminine energy, especially when we talk about divine feminine energy, which is the feminine energy that loves herself, that knows her value, that understands, I am the gatekeeper, I am the oracle here, right? I am the standard setter, I am the creation, I am the initiation. She understands the role of feminine energy in this world. That kind of a woman creates, it's exactly that poking of a bear for men. She creates exactly that for men. So you push, it's like you mirror to men their greatness, okay? And you do this for setting boundaries. You mirror to men their greatness. You mirror to them who they could become. So then again, there are two responses. Response number one, I don't want to do this. I'm not ready. I don't want to escalate. I don't want to grow. I don't want to be a better man. I don't have it in me for this lifetime. And then they're just going to disappear. They're going to disappear from your energetic field. Now what's going to happen for the second type of man, which is usually either a man who is destined for you or a man that may be a soul connection and you have a strong soul contract with. Maybe you're not meant to walk chapters of your life together. Maybe you're not meant to form a divine union. Maybe you're not meant to be together, but you had a soul contract for you to create this pressure within him, for him to grow. So that second reaction to that boundary, to that pressure, will be, man, I can do better. There's going to be reflection, right? Because you've reflected it to him. So he will actually see that reflection. I can become a better man. I actually could meet this woman's boundary, and I actually want to meet this woman's boundary. And this is where you are giving him, again, for many people, most people, this is going to be very subconscious. You're giving him freedom. So what he's seeing is a woman who is so independent and so free that she's not going to be chasing for anything. She's stepping away. I have a freedom to choose. Do I want to become a better man, worthy of this woman, work on myself, become a man that won't penetrate her boundaries in a hurtful way, naturally, right, and effortlessly, really understand where she's coming from, understand why what I did was a low vibration, and you're going to initiate growth for him. Now, again, remember, whether you're a man or a masculine or feminine watching, this does not mean for all of you that you are destined, because sometimes we're, especially divine feminines on the journey of divine femininity, sometimes in awakening, returning back home to self, they're just labels. Sometimes we're being, we have soul contracts with these men. You can go on 1-2 dates with him, you can connect to him, and you're going to do exactly that. You're going to create that pressure. You're going to push him. You're going to reflect his potential to him. Now, will he accept the challenge or not? Even if he accepts the challenge, he becomes a better man. You may not, again, be destined to return to each other. That's a whole different story. But you would have created, it's like you've created a better man for another sister, right? It was your soul contract. And it happens a lot. We connect for someone that creates this deep remembrance, desire within us. It's exactly that. It's the feminine energy that reflects the potential within men to become better. And he will initiate that journey, right? So one thing for you to remember, that for some of them, they're going to be, your destined men will be exactly that. Your destined men from your highest, most aligned timeline, you, through that pressure, will create desire for him to become better for himself and for you, and he will return to you. But in some cases, you will create that desire, but it's just a soul contract. But another thing that I want to mention for that first case, if it's really your destined man, if it's a man for you to walk this path with you, as you create that pressure, you have to remember that the reaction won't always be instantaneous. It's going to depend on your individual journey. It's going to depend on his level of wounding, where he is in life. One of the beautiful examples of doing that is a twin flame journey. This is why actually twin flames teach people proper interaction between the feminine and the masculine. Once we rise into our power, the feminine walks away, creating that pressure, creating that boundary. I'm no longer willing to accept that. For the men to then step up, because the remembrance of your souls, the love that you carry within for each other, will also pull him in and reflect that potential, right? So in some cases, as you set that boundary, if you're on a search for a soulmate, you're dating a man, you're going to set that boundary. He's going to, again, subconsciously actually feel that you are honoring his freedom, right? And he may react immediately. He may step up immediately. And then in that initial months of, building friendship, this is why we always start from friendship in the beginning. This is in those initial months, you're going to be setting boundaries, and he's going to be stepping up as a man that is worthy to have a relationship with you, right? So it's going to be almost immediate, right? However, in some cases, it may happen that there's a deeper healing that needs to happen, that there's a deeper transformation that needs to happen, that there's a deeper maturing that needs to happen, so that men will walk away, sometimes for years. And again, it can be for soulmates as well. They're going to meet someone and you're going to feel that, but as a divine feminine, you're going to set a boundary. No, it's not what I accept. And that man he may not even consciously do that, right? So he may just walk away. He may feel like, that woman is not for me. I'm not, right? He may even be like a little offended, a little triggered, but deep down, you will initiate a process. He will carry you with your heart. This is why, sometimes we say that one that got away, right? So that woman that, I couldn't meet her where she was. I wasn't ready when she was ready, but I would carry her with my heart always. I would think of her and I would, right? And that is that motivation, what we left within them, the soul contract, the remembrance of our souls, of each other, to then grow, expand, escalate, elevate, and become a better man. And if you're destined, when the time is right, he will return to you. And never again will you have to set that boundary. Or maybe in the beginning, here and there, you will have to set that boundary again. It may be a test again. It depends on the situation. But that's basically what I want you guys to remember. A woman is a gatekeeper. Energetically, we are a standard setter. We are the guardian of the divine law on earth. We teach men. We help them to remember, not through nagging, not through mothering, not through, constantly being behind their backs and controlling them, through just being, loving ourselves. We teach them how to love another human being through loving ourselves. That's how we set that boundary. We teach him how to devote himself and how to, admire a woman, how to treat a woman through how we treat ourselves and through what we allow. And through that feminine energy creates a pressure and a reflection of the man that they could become. And if they're not ready in this lifetime to become that man, they're going to lower their standards. They're going to go ahead and find themselves a different woman to reflect whatever lower thing that they can work on. And if they are ready to achieve greatness, especially when we talk about the divine feminine who reflects literally divine reflection to him, they're going to start a path of growth, of ascension, of improvement, and become a better man that will then feed that energy through his life force energy back to this world, whether it's back to you, girl, or back to another sister, or back to the community. It doesn't matter. This is how we collectively create better men. And we can do that not just with romantical potential partners. We can do this with friends, with men at work, with men in our community, in our family. We teach them how to become better, again, through pressure, energetic pressure of setting a boundary and loving ourselves, not through discussions, not through negotiations, not through nagging, not through mothering. I hope this was helpful. I love you so incredibly much, and I will see you soon.